I feel guilty as a parent for not supporting my other kids and not my other children not being able to do the things that they want to do because one of their siblings has epilepsy. So they, like last week, we got home from school and they wanted to play outside. Well, okay, you can play outside, but you have to play in the backyard because I have to stay inside with Gracie. So everybody feels the weight of it. My name is Meghan, and I'm going to be 38, and I'm Gracie's mom. Gracie is 2.5. She'll be 3 in June. She is a very smart, active little girl and suffers from seizures, which gets in the way of her being a kid. Her first seizure was at 6 months, and it came out of nowhere. We were very shocked. The fire department and the ambulance came. She seized for about 15 minutes, and the paramedics told us she had a fever, and it was very low, like 99.5. So nothing that was out of that's very low. And they wanted to take her to the hospital, and we were very much on board because we were very concerned. And got to the hospital. They ran all these tests. They told us it was febrile seizures, and it shouldn't happen again. And if it did, to come back. On the way home, she seized again in the car. So we turn around. We hadn't been gone from the hospital 10 minutes, and she seized again. They admitted us that night. They did an EEG. They couldn't find anything wrong. They told us, again, it's probably just febrile seizures. She'll grow out of it. It's kind of scary, but don't really worry about it. And then from that point forward so that was in December, January, February, March, April. So for the next 5 months, she had at least one seizure a month. And we were just told to treat with Tylenol, keep her fever down. We ended up going back to the hospital in March because she had a seizure that did not involve a fever and was foaming at the mouth. At that point, then it kind of like flagged the doctor's chart, and we were asked to come in for some genetic testing. And after Gracie did the initial genetic testing, which was just swabbing the mouth, they found out she did have Dravet syndrome, which is her diagnosis. The neurologist said she thought maybe that's what was going on because of all of the things that had happened in that short time period with her seizures. And so she did test positive. She has Dravet syndrome, which is really, it's identified as the SCN1A is the mutation. And so at that point, we had the diagnosis in April. Yes. And then we started her on medication because she was only 11 months old at that point. We had her first 24-hour EEG it was 2 weeks before she turned 2. And I had the baby the next week. So we had the EEG. I had the baby the next week. And then the following week, she turned 2. So it's a spectrum on severity. So every child with this condition has the SCN1A mutation. And then there's a spectrum of severity. So it can be mild, very, really seizures up until maybe 5. And then you don't necessarily grow out of it. It's not a thing that happens, but your seizures lessen. Then it can be kind of moderate fever, seizures, some developmental delays, which is where she is right now. She's kind of in the middle. And then the severe side is loss of function, severe, I can't think of the scientific word, severe, like immobility, brain, I'm sorry, like brain damage from the seizures. Some kids can be on a feeding tube. Some kids and these are really the older kids that have more of the severity, because Dravet wasn't really researched except for the last maybe 5 years. So the older kids that have it have the more severe end because they didn't know about it. Science didn't put a lot of research into it because they didn't know. So the first medication she was put on at 10 months was Keppra, and it was awful. She had a terrible reaction. I watched my sweet, smart, just fun-loving, good-natured baby turn into a miserable existence. She would lay on the floor and just scream and cry and thrash her legs. And I read that Keppra you can have behavior issues. And it was heartbreaking. It was awful. But, you know, we had to have her on something. And a medication to prevent her seizures, in my mind, was better than her having a seizure that could cause her permanent damage. Because we were told once she's off the medication, her behavior will improve. Okay, so then we added on Onfi, ONFI, or clobazam. And that one also had, what do you need? No. That one was added on probably in the fall of that year. I don't remember exactly when. Oh no, it was in June. It was at that EEG that we had done. So I didn't want to do it. I had read about it. I had read how awful it was from parents in the Dravet support group that I'm a part of. And I didn't want to do it because Keppra was already causing so many behavior problems. But again, the neurologist said, let's look at this like it's not permanent. The damage from a seizure could be permanent. So, okay, I get that. So we started her on Onfi, and the behavior didn't change much. It just depended on the day whether it was better or worse for her behavior-wise. She was still having seizures. We actually went 6 months seizure-free after we started the Onfi. And I say that. She went 6 months tonic-clonic seizure-free. She was still having myoclonics, but evidently that is a part of Dravet syndrome. It's just a bunch of different seizures that they can have. So, Her next seizure was at 17 months. Hospital stay. The next one was in December, so 18 months hospital stay, both due to fevers. She was sick. I don't remember what she had, but at that point, I had heard about the keto Atkins diet, and I was really interested in starting it. And at our appointment with the neurologist in January of 23, she told me, let's wait until she's 2 because she needs a lot of like the nutrients and the vitamins from all of these foods. So that was kind of what we did. We tried to get approved for Epidiolex, which is a medical grade CBD. I'm sure you're familiar with. People talk about it. But our insurance wouldn't approve it for her, so we had to wait till she was 2. So basically, we were just buying time, trying to keep her fevers very low. Even if she had 99.5, we would rotate Tylenol and Motrin for 12, 24 hours, depending, to keep her seizures down. We had kind of a bridge medication called clonazepam that we would use to try to stave off a tonic-clonic seizure. Or if she was clustering with her myos, we would give it to her. And then we were finally given a rescue medication called Diastat, which for her, being so young, is rectal. So every time she would have a seizure, a tonic-clonic seizure, we would give her the Diastat. She turned 2, and we got her on the Epidiolex. I think she had about 4 months of seizure freedom. And then she got norovirus in August of last year. And then we got it again later last year. So her seizures were kind of really, we got norovirus in August, and then she had another one, 2 tonic-clonics in October. But we had already started the diet at that point. We finally weaned Keppra and Onfi, and her behavior improved drastically. It was amazing. My happy little girl is back. We're still on Epidiolex. We tried Depakote. It didn't really work. We just weaned that this past week. She's on Felbamate right now. And in January, we had a neurology appointment. And her seizures from October to now have been really bad. She has a lot of atonic head drops, and she's like this all the time, just constantly. And she right now has a cut across the bridge of her nose and a black eye right here, because yesterday she had a head drop and fell on the edge of the table, and that caught her fall. It's extremely heartbreaking to watch your child have seizure after seizure after seizure and not be able to do anything to help. It's the most helpless I've ever felt in my entire life. It's not something you can just fix. And it's awful. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. And that's what I was telling the neurologist back in January. This is not okay. She does not have a quality of life right now. Like, look at her face, how busted up she is. She can't even play. I mean, she can barely do anything. Drink, eat. And she's only 2.5. Like, what's going to happen in next year, the year after, when she goes to school? I worry about those possibilities and the dangers if we don't get this under control.